Hello, welcome to my channel today. My name is Randy May. Glad that you're able to join us today. If you would please subscribe to the channel. If you would click like, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, you'll know when I'm posting. Also, if you would share this with a friend you go to church with or a relative, it would really be helpful. I need 500 registered viewers to be on the channel or they won't push it out. So I need some help. If you could, wonderful. We're going to be talking about a father's responsibility. Fathers have responsibilities, and this is what we're going to touch on today. Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." It's a father's responsibility to take his family to church and give them a Christian upbringing, to teach them about the Bible, to teach them right from wrong. Does the mother do teaching? Absolutely. Is the mother a critical role? Absolutely. But we're talking about men here today. Men need to step up and do their job, all right? You may work a job, but you still have to take time out for your children, and you have to train them. We taught our children from very small to pray over them before they go to bed at night. We taught them about prayer. If you're sick or you got a problem, you can pray and talk to the Lord. We had them pray over their food, and we taught them that you can't curse and scream and fight in the house. You know, I laid out the guidelines. I'm the father. God set this up. I didn't set it up. He set it up where the man is the head of the household. The wife is his helpmate. All right, he says, not good for a man to be alone, so he made him a helpmate to help him. But when the final decision of spiritual upbringing for the children, the father's responsible to lead by example and to take care and train up its child. Fathers should prepare their children for success. They ought to teach their children to dream big and that there's no limits on what you can do. You know, you need to teach your children, that they can, if you want to go to college, you can obtain it. If you want to go to a trade school, I had a friend, his son wanted to be a welder. He wanted to be a welder so bad, and he wanted to be able to fix things and do things. He took shop class in high school. And when he got out, he went to a trade school. He not only learned how to weld, but he went on and got a license as an electrician and learned how to be an electrician. And he was out of school just in a matter of months. And he was out making big bucks. I'll throw this in for whatever it's worth. I'm an old father. I have children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. So I'm going to tell you this, not everybody ought to go to college. Not because they're not smart. But some people are just naturally good with their hands, and they can learn to be a over-the-road truck driver, a welder, an electrician, a journeyman plumber, learn how to work on computers. There's all sorts of trades out there where they need people, and you're always going to be able to find a job. Threw that in as a bonus. Didn't cost you anything. So we're going to move on. Fathers need to train their children, and they need to listen to what their father is teaching them. We need to get them to flip their faith switch and learn to depend upon God and learn to do things on their own. Teach them to be independent. You don't want your kids living in your basement when they're 45 years old, all right? You want them to be independent, and you want them to be able to get out of the nest and fly their own wings, I told my kids, I raised them this way their entire life. It's my job and my responsibility till you're an adult to teach you, train you, and give you guidance. You won't like everything I say. You won't be happy with every decision I make. And if that's true, then I'm doing a good job. Here's the deal. I'm in charge. All right? I'm the final authority. You can come talk to me about anything. I don't care what it is, anything. And if you say, look, I don't want to go no further with this, but I'd like to tell you about it so you know what's going on, then that's what would happen. All right? But I also told them there's no secrets from your mother. All right? Your mom and me worked together on this. And so I sat down and listened to my children if they wanted to talk to me about things. But I tried to get my children to think so they could be problem solvers and they could get a job, and they knew how to exist in the society we're in. And both my children, all three of them, are real good kids, and I love them and I appreciate them. And they all are hard workers and understand what a hard day's work is. So we have to teach them to flip their faith switch on and believe in God. The hardest thing for me to do as a parent is to sit by and see my children struggle when they're adults. I want to swoop in and solve their problems. Many times the Lord's had to go, hold on. No. They're going through this. Let them go through it. Just pray for them. Don't go in there. I have to listen to the Lord because I train them up properly. They're adults. They're married. They're out on their own. It's their responsibility to make a way for themselves, and I gave them a good foundation, their mother and me. Now, the reason I keep saying me and not my wife is because I'm talking about fathers today. A father's responsibility to his wife and his children. But mothers are equally as important as a father in raising and rearing their children. And maybe more in a lot of times because a lot of men work long hours. Some women work long hours. Some women work a job, some don't. Some are home housewives. But whatever the deal may be, you have to be a good father and train your children up. So I have to sit back and say, yeah, they're going through a struggle. I wish I could help them, but I'm going to pray for them, and they're going to learn from their mistakes. When they zigged and they should have zagged, they'll learn from it. But I gave them everything they needed, the tools, the education to go out and live their life. So now I need to trust God and them and let them live their life. That's the hardest thing for me to do, is to see my children struggle and watch them go through things. Children can flip their own faith switch on if they've been taught, and they can talk to the Lord and they can try to solve some of their own problems. If you don't teach them that, you're going to be solving all their problems the rest of your life. And then when you're gone, who are they going to turn to? You must teach your children, train them up. But once they're out of the nest, they're an adult, they're out of school, they move on. Now, I've done all I can do. It's between them and God. They're an adult now. They have to work out their own salvation in fear and trembling. And that's what I told my children. I didn't believe 100% the way my parents believed about certain things. Didn't mean I was right. Didn't mean they were wrong. I just didn't have the same beliefs on some things. I'll give you a real quick one. When I was a kid, a lot of people in the church didn't like it if you played baseball on Sunday afternoon after church. I belonged to a couple of baseball teams and a softball team. I played all the time. I loved it. They didn't like it. So I asked some of the men one day when they were talking about it, and they said something to me. I drove by the park, saw you playing baseball out there on my way home. I said, yeah, you sure did. They said, well, this is the day of rest. Now, I did do this, and my dad backed me up on it when he found out about it. I said, yes. I was always respectful because that's the way my parents taught me. I said, yes, I did. And they said, well, you shouldn't be doing that on Sunday. So I said to the guy, I said, well, I'm going to tell you something. I heard you out in front of the church telling all the guys, I can't stay around talking much. The Cardinals are on. I want to get home and see the game. You like to busted your neck to get home so you can watch the baseball game. You guys all went out to eat today at restaurants. If you want to practice what you preach, then quit going out to eat on Sunday. If nobody goes out to eat, then they close the restaurant. Those people can go to church and be at home. But no, you're helping them have a job on Sunday. Plus, you all try to get home as quick as you can, see the Cardinals on TV. I don't know. I have to talk to the Lord and pray some more and ask Him if playing baseball on Sunday afternoon after I've went to church and before Sunday night service is as bad as busting my neck to get home, watch it on TV. You ought to be careful what you say to kids. Kids grow up, they understand things. So I didn't see things the way they saw it, but I wasn't born in the 1890s. I wasn't born in 1910, 1915 like these people. So, and they were raised without television, without radio, without electricity, an outhouse. Do you understand what I mean? So no, we didn't have the same values. But I told them, I said, I love you gentlemen. I appreciate your advice, but this is the way I see it. And I told them. And so 6 things that we need to teach our children. I'm going to give them to you real quick here. 1, we should lead by example. Not do what I tell you, but don't do what I do. No. If it's not good for you, your children to go here, then I shouldn't go there. All right? I need to lead by example. Pick up your own clothes when you come in the house. All right? You get onto your kids, tell them, oh, you dropped your coat in there. Put that up and get your hat and go over and get this and that. But Dad threw his clothes all over the place. If you're throwing your clothes all over the place, you shouldn't be getting on your children for doing the same thing. You need to lead by example. You're the head of the house. God put you as the head of the house, so act like it. Don't expect your children to do things you wouldn't do. All right? So learn to do what you ought to be doing as a parent. Lead by example. 2, show them critical thinking. Teach them to think on their own, to make good decisions, and teach them right from wrong. And so they will make the right critical decisions when they need to. And when they're an adult, it's really hard sometimes, but don't offer a lot of unsolicited advice to your children when they're adults and they've bought their own home and they've got their own car and they're married. Try not to nose into their affairs. But if they ask for help or ask for advice, then give it. Once in a blue moon, I feel in my spirit the Lord wants me to say something. So I always pull my son off to the side or my daughter, and I will say, son, I feel like giving you a little bit of unsolicited advice. I feel like the Lord wants me to share something with you. Would you mind? And if he says, no, Pops, I don't mind, then I say, okay. And then I tell him. But I don't tell him in front of his children, in front of his wife, and everything. I talk to him privately. And then what he does with it, I say, son, you can scoop it in or you can push it away. But I just wanted to give you what I felt like the Lord wanted you to have, and I know you're struggling. I put my arm and tell him I love him. I do the same thing to my daughter. They both call me once in a while for advice. Not a lot, but once in a while. If they do, I reach out to them. It's critical that you teach them to think on their own. All right, number 3, teach them how to love by loving them unconditionally. Teach them how to love. Show love. So many men, especially when I was growing up, like I said, a lot of them were born in the late 1800s, early 1900s. A man don't cry. A man looks stoic. A man this, a man that. All right, I've never been ashamed. I told my children every day of their life, and I still do it. I love you. Your dad loves you. I tell them that every time I talk to them. They call me on the phone, no matter what the conversation's about. Before I hang up, I say, look, I want you to know Dad loves you. I love you too, Pops. My son calls me Pops. My daughter calls me Dad. My other daughter calls me Dad and Pops. But they'll say, Pops, I love you. I love you too. I tell them tell your children you love them every time, especially when they're growing up. There's nothing wrong with a man putting his arms around his kids and hugging them and tell them he loves them. That doesn't mean you're a weak person. Doesn't mean that you're melancholying them, trying to make them out to be some little Nancy, all right? It's that you love your kids. You can love your children and tell them without being a wimp, all right? So number 4, help teach them how to serve others, all right? They have to realize that in life, sometimes you may have to do things for other people. And I'll give you another example of that. When I was about 12 or 13, my mom said, I don't even remember the woman's name because it was, 55, 60 years ago. My mom said, the lady 4 doors up, and she told me her name. I'll just say her name's Ms. Sally. I don't know. Ms. Sally. She said, the guy that cuts her grass quit doing it, and she's trying to find somebody to cut her grass. And she said, I know you're busy, but her yard's awful high, and she lives on retirement. I knew it was coming. So I said, all right, Mom, I'll go up there and take care of it. Well, now you do. I said, that's all right, I'll take care of it. I go down to the basement, get the mower. Thank God we had just bought a gas mower. We never had one before. We had the old push thing. And I went up there, knocked on her door, cut her grass, swept her sidewalk. She thanked me. She even offered me $2, which when I was a kid, you could buy a bottle of pop for a dime. You could buy a nice big bag of potato chips for a dime. You could buy a packet of Suzy Q's or Twinkies for a dime. $2 was good money. I thanked her. But when I got home, my mom said, "She didn't pay you, did she?" I said, "Yeah, she gave me $2." She goes, "You march right back up there and give her money back to her." I said, "But Mom," she said, "march right back up there and give her money back to her. We need to do things once in a while because we love people or we're trying to help them, not because we're trying to make a buck." I said, "I never asked her for any money." I went up there and told her, "My mom said you need help. I'm going to cut your lawn. Is that okay?" She said, "Yes." I cut it. She brought me out $2 and gave it to me. "You take it right back to her and give it back to her." So I took it back. And when I tried to give it back to her, she said, "Oh, I tell you what, no. I always pay him $3 or $4. I wanted to give you a couple dollars." I said, "No, ma'am, I can't do that here. My mother wants," and I had to force it back. I finally just laid it on the table inside her door and thanked her, and I walked off. And I walked home disappointed because I was dreaming about some Suzy Q's, a Dr. Pepper, a bag of chips, some pretzels. You know, I was spending part of that money. And so when I got home, my mom said, "Son, sit down. I want to tell you something." I said, "Okay, Mom." She goes, "I know you're unhappy, and I know you love that, wanted to make that money. I know you're always out hustling, delivering papers, having a paper route, painting a neighbor's garage, cutting a lawn here and there, shoveling snow. You're always trying to make a buck. You hustle all the time." I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, but there are times when you have to serve others. There are times you have to help other people." And she said, "This was one of those times. I wanted to teach you. It's more blessed to give than to receive." I never understood that a whole lot. I didn't like it a lot. My parents told me that a lot when I was growing up. But when I got to be an adult and I buy groceries for a family in need, me and my wife would buy children clothes and gifts for Christmas that wasn't our kids. Here's what I finally figured out as an adult. I would rather, more blessed to give than receive, I would rather buy groceries and Christmas gifts for other people and give it to them than for them to have to do the same for me. I'd rather be the giver. I don't want to be the receiver. I don't want to be the person that needs food and that needs toys for my children. We always gave it to the parents. We never put our name on it so their parents could give it to them. They said, "We're going to tell them you gave it." No, don't do that. Tell them it come from you. Because we're giving it to you. You give it to them. We wanted that father to be able to feel on Christmas Day he was able to provide for his family. So we never tried to take things and embarrass people. But my parents taught me about how to serve others. And we need to teach that to our children, that you don't have to be paid for everything you do. You need to serve others. One other time, I found a $5 bill. I was so happy. Man, I was just on cloud nine. Unfortunately, I carried my enthusiasm into the house, and my mom said, "That's a lot of money." I was about 13 or 14. And she was. I just told you what things cost. She said, "You need to go start knocking on the neighbor's door and ask them if they lost any money." I said, "You're saying what?" She goes, "Go to the neighbors. Start out the one across the hall that rents from us. Then the people upstairs that rent from us. Try them first. If they say they didn't lose any money, go to the house next door and work your way out. Somebody around here lost $5." So I went across the hall, knocked on the lady's door. She came to her, single mom, 2 children. I said, "Ma'am, did you lose any money?" And she said, "No, not that I know of." I thought, all right, you know. She said, "Well, let me look in my purse." And she opened her little change purse she had. She says, "Oh my God, I lost a $5 bill." My heart sunk in my stomach. And I said, "You lost a $5 bill?" And because she was right across the hall from us, my front door was open. My mom could see and hear it. And she said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I found this out there on the curb." And I handed her, and she goes, "Oh my God, thank you." And she grabs me, hugs me real tight. And she goes, hold on a minute. And she reached her purse and gave me a quarter. I said, no, ma'am, I can't do that. I just found it outside. I was trying to find out who owned it. No, no, no. I want you to have this. Go buy yourself a bottle of pop and get you a snack or something. And I said, well, no, ma'am. My parents, she goes, I'm not taking no for an answer. So I turned around and stuck my head in the door, and my mom said, okay, you can take it. So I said, all right, ma'am, thank you so much. And then she kissed me on top of my head and thanked me again because she got her $5 back. When I got older, I realized that, back in those days, you could get a loaf of bread for 15, 20 cents, something like that. And the day old bakery was a dime a loaf. You could buy that loaves for a dime a piece. $5 was a lot of money in a single mom. So I understood my mom made me do the right thing. I thought I'd head to the store and go get my buddies, but I never gave it a thought about it belonging to somebody else. But my mother did. So we need to realize that we need to teach them to serve others. And that means there are some things that we need to do for other people. Fifth, share your faith with them through the scriptures. You should share your faith with your children. Let them know what your standard is in your home, what their responsibility is. Like my mother was teaching me. Go up there and cut her grass, don't take any money for it. Why? Because you have to learn to serve other people. You have to learn to do something for others besides yourself. And then my father always taught me it's more blessed to give than to receive. And when I finally grew up, I realized that, like I told you, I'd rather be the one giving people stuff they need than for people giving me stuff that I need. So it is more blessed to give than receive because all my needs are met and I've got enough where I can share with them. So I'm on the real good end of the deal here. So you need to realize that. Share your faith with your children. Let them know the scriptures. Let them know what the morals are out of the Bible and the Word of God and what you expect them to grow up and do. Number 6, the last one, pray with them and have that they have their own faith. And you pray with them and say, look, I'm trying to teach you how to pray and how to talk to the Heavenly Father about your problems and your struggles and problems. You need to reach out and be able to talk to the Lord yourself. And here I want to equip you so you can get things out of the Bible on your own. My children have done really well with that. My son Ryan, he always was digging in to the Bible looking for something, and he was a good thinker on his own. Randy Inn's same way, Crystal. They all think on their own, and I taught them to be independent, and that's what I want them to be. It takes more to be a father than just having a kid. Any guy can get a woman pregnant, but being a father's different than just having a baby, all right? You have to train up that child. You're responsible to make sure that child has food, clothing, education, spiritual guidance, taught about God. It's a father's responsibility to lead by example and train his children up in the way they should go. So fathers, accept your responsibility and do what you're supposed to do because that's what God wants, a father's responsibility. I want to thank you for your time this time. Till next time, I'm signing off. Don't forget to subscribe and help me out. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.